After the discard, what survivors need when the fantasy shatters. There is a moment after discard that cannot be explained in normal language. You're not just heartbroken, you're not just confused, you are disassembled. You feel as though the world just collapsed inward, not around you, but through you. This is not grief, it is psychic collapse. It is what happens when the internal scaffolding you use to survive, the fantasy, the hope, your own false self, begins to break down all at once. And the world gives you nothing to hold on to. No map, no real language for your experience, no space that mirrors the depth of what just occurred. MPIT exists to give you that map. This piece is a practical, symbolic, and clinical guide to what survivors actually need from the moment of discard and why so many recovery journeys stall without it. Let us begin. The moment of collapse is not just emotional, it is symbolic, structural, and neurological. From the MPIT perspective, collapse begins when your internal world stops making sense. You are no longer able to locate yourself inside your thoughts, feelings, or body. This is because your nervous system had fused with the narcissist's internal object world, their needs, their moods, their validation structures. You had no idea this was happening because it felt like love. But now that they are gone, so is your sense of self. Input names this moment the breakdown of the ASR2 system, the anticipatory stress reflex that normally helps us filter reality, connect the others, and stay grounded in the present. In its place, you are left with ASR3, the anticipatory shadow reflex. This is a survival mechanism, not a healthy instinct. It loops, it mirrors, it bypasses the self in order to stay attached to fantasy. Now that the narcissist is gone, the loop has no object, so it turns inward, and this is when survivors feel like they're dying. What survivors need immediately after discard? This stage is not about healing yet, it is about containment, stabilization, and education. Here's the core list, structured from an MPIT informed clinical recovery standpoint. Containment of the phase. You're not going crazy. Your body is registering a severed internal loop. So, what's happening? You are experiencing a neurological rupture where your sense of continuity, identity, and emotional coherence has dropped out. You need non performative care, calm presence, someone who can witness your collapse without trying to fix it or pathologize it. In MPIT language, this is the disintegration of your false self, the breakdown of the shared fantasy, and the exposure of your internalized introject theater. You are beginning to see the mirror you had become. This is a death, not of you, but of the simulation. Educational grounding. It wasn't love, it was psychic capture. So, what's happening? You begin asking, was any of it real? Was I crazy? Why can't I feel myself anymore? And you need language that matches the depth of what you went through. You don't need cliches, you need precision. In MPIT language, the moment you understand terms like ASR3, RMPI, reflexive merge cycle conversion, and the organizing gate, something inside you clicks. The chaos starts to make sense. The story reattaches to the body. You're not broken. You are in inversion recovery. Psychoeducation about narcissistic structure. Make your landing page for any education around narcissistic pathology, Professor Sam Wagner. He will teach you that you weren't abandoned by a person, you were ejected from a theatre. And what's happening? Most survivors try to get closure by replaying the relationship because it was never a real relationship. It was a projection loop, and you were cast inside it. And you need a deep understanding of how the narcissist's internal world works, including grandiosity, cold empathy, snapshotting, and the shared fantasy. The Empit and Vacnan integration. Understanding why the narcissist used you and how their false self required a mirrored object to survive frees you from shame. It allows you to stop trying to win the role back because you were never loved. You were used to simulate love, and that is the injury, and that is what now must be metabolized. Validation of symbolic collapse. You didn't just lose a person, you lost a part of your internal world. So, what's happening? Your nervous system cannot explain why you feel so lost, so unreal, so disassociated. You need recognition that this is not just attachment grief, it is the collapse of your inner map. In MPIT language, this is CIPR, collapse induced psychotic regression. It is the return of early ego states. It is the reactivation of your infantile ASR1 trauma triggered by the exit of the narcissistic gaze. You need a map that respects this complexity, and MPIT gives it to you with clinical structure and symbolic truth. The slow re entry into self regulation. You can't regulate something you don't own yet. First, we rebuild authorship. So, what's happening? Your body keeps looping. You replay events, images, arguments. You talk to them in your head and you feel out of time. You need not forced mindfulness, not surface level techniques. You need slow relational grounding, connection to people, spaces, and ideas that see your core self. Input guidance here. The self does not re-emerge through performance. It re-emerges through symbolic presence, being seen without collapse, without having to hold the fantasy in place. Regulation follows reattunement, and reattunement must be symbolic, not scripted. You need a social mirror that does not trigger ASR3. Rebuilding the self means surrounding it with people who do not require performance. Because what's happening? Most survivors rush into normal life, work, dating, obligations, and find themselves relapsing into collapse. So you need environments where the introjected demand is not reactivated. That means no high performance spaces, no echoic dating patterns, no systems that remind your body of the narcissist gaze. In MPIT language, you are still inside the Hall of Mirrors, the symbolic loop of internalized rules. You must now exit the vortex by staying still within it, seeing the loop without running it. This is the turning point and it cannot be rushed. Narrative reassembly. Your story was hijacked and now you reclaim authorship. So what's happening? You begin remembering not just the narcissist, but yourself, the real you, not the role you were cast in. You need space to rebuild your timeline, to see that you existed before them, during them, and after them, and that none of it was your fault. The input integration. The organizing gate is now behind you, the false self is crumbling, the frozen imago is thawing, you're beginning to remember what it felt like to be yours. This is the beginning of reintegration. The long arc. Recovery is not linear, it is orbital. MPIT teaches that collapse follows an orbital structure. Survivors move through spirals of clarity, confusion, grief, reenactment, and insight. You will loop, you will doubt, you will forget the map and then remember it again. This is not failure, this is recovery. MPIT is here to hold that process with language, structure, and symbolic containment so you never have to go through it blindly again. Survivors deserve more than tools. They deserve truth. From the moment of discard, the world begins offering advice. Just block them. Love yourself more. Don't love back. But what we needed wasn't advice. We needed a map. We needed someone to say, you were inverted and it wasn't your fault. We needed a framework that showed us how we lost ourselves, not just emotionally, but symbolically, neurologically, and psychically. And now we have it. MPIT is not just a theory, it is the survivor's return to authorship, and it is the reversal of collapse. It is the regulated yes to life, and it begins now. Peace out. Loads of love.